Okay, we are live. Yep. Thank you all for attending. Yeah, wherever you are out there, welcome. Going to teach a little bit today on the process of humanity and inhumanity. Yeah, we have very few times have we gone through the process of shifting from a really inhumane scenario to a humane. Before anybody was tried and an investigation was laid out. And we asked questions, why did you gas all those people? Why did you say yes to him? What was it in your life that brought you to being an SS soldier? A lot of those things never really came up. No one asked those questions. No one went through that process. It is necessary for us to understand, and come to terms with it to a degree in which we can discern it and discriminate it as it's happening. So we don't become an SS soldier or a person who follows this dark force, and later figures it out, and goes, oh, I don't know how I ever got involved. So it's the reason for me being here, I was born in 51, incarnated in 50, and I came out of the womb in 51, and I was in service way prior before that. And my service was to bring about world peace and changes in the world through evolution, through stimulating the consciousness of humanity, through technology, through advancements, through better ways of understanding sciences and developing those techniques and technologies and those different ways that we can get away from our ignorance and go into greater enlightenment. So that, that was the 1800s. I spent all my time doing that. And rearranging the delusionary belief systems based on many myths and religions and dogmas, from India to the understanding of what was the Bible originally, and how many ways that it get interpreted, and why is it Christianity through the Pope, it turned out to be such a devilish scenario. How did it become evil? And without us taking the time to look, and understand, we will not be able to discern, discriminate, because the soul is a collective consciousness. It doesn't come from ignorance. The soul comes from wisdom, and love. And love gives you courage, and courage to stand up against, no matter how evil it is, no matter how treacherous the situation, no matter how dangerous the scenario, no matter how much you would be put in danger, for your political persuasion or your belief system or your identity. Love forces you to express yourself, whether it's good or bad. Love does that. And it makes transformation take place, because nearly every person has impurities and imbalance and different types of life, that is their lifestyle, that's conditioned by previous life disastrous scenarios, and impressions placed upon you that never allowed you to get educated. It wasn't until the 1920s that America started getting some education. Learn the alphabet, go past 3 years in school, that was never done, never, And if you go to England, forget it. You're a labor force at 7 years old, and the same thing happened here in America. And the same thing in Africa, in gold mines and in diamond fields and other places. Children are marketed, and they lose out in the process of their evolution, in the process of their education, in the process of the sharing in a world that has all of this wonderful advancements wonderful ways of seeing things and being balanced and finding health and finding nutrition and finding hygiene. And all of that is our enlightenment. We've come to realize, these things, but it's not in everybody. There's way too many people who don't give a shit. Way too many people eating Kentucky Fried Chicken. Way too many people driving through drive-thrus. Way too many people upset over the fact that they have to wear a mask, even if it's forever. What's to be upset about? If you understand the science, you understand compassion and empathy, and you have the courage and strength to do the right thing. But if you don't have empathy, if you don't have compassion, then you won't understand. So it's the hard things, the things that got you the empathy, the things that got you the compassion. And that's usually from your own suffering, from your own circumstance. It's similar to others, maybe in a previous life or in this life. But it's going through that develops compassion. And it's going through that allows you to have enough compassion to develop your empathy, to where you start to care. Now, that's humanity. That's all humanity. All of that is humanity. There's an inhumane aspect to it, which is greed and all the people who take advantage of the young, the old, and the weak, and the poor. All over, everywhere. Happens everywhere. And that's going on. That is not humanity. That is inhumanity. And we should have laws based on love that keeps this from happening, due to our empathy. And our empathy would go, okay, look, I've got a lot better than you. I'm going to give you a blanket, a pillow. I'm going to give you food. I'm going to take care of what is around me in my community. And I will do my best to serve and lift people up. And I know that if I do something like this, I will gain all the abilities it takes to fulfill it, rather than think that I'm just wasting my life and no one cares about me doing this sort of thing, and I'm never going to amount to anything. I'm never going to get a doctorate degree or anything because I'm spending all my time helping people. And that process, it goes away after a while, because there is another way, an empathy of developing in empathy, in starting off to do something like that. And it's difficult because, how many people really pull out, money when they see a poor person, and not go, oh, you're just going to use it for drugs. You're going to use it for alcohol. You're going to use it for, terrible bad things. You're not going to do anything about it. You're not going to go get a job. Why don't you get a job? Those things go on in minds, rather than caring, rather than empathy, rather than sharing. Prejudice, bias, all these hateful elements of energy that are inside of us that keeps us from having a soul, keeps us from having love in our life. If you don't give love, you don't get love. That's just the way it works. You can complain and expect all you want, but you're not going to get shit unless you start to learn to love and care and share and give love. So on the higher area, here I come, I incarnate, and, I dispel demons. I dispel dark forces. I keep you protected from witchcraft, from sorcery, from what bumps in the night, from the people who die and never go to heaven and never go anywhere, but they become poltergeists and ghosts and elementals that are manifested in our avarice, in our hate, and our anger. And once they leave the body, they got no place to go. They just roam the earth in an astral field as ghosts. And that can go on for a very long time. There's many people who have been found in the 1600s that were lost on ships, people who are waiting for those people on ships. And those houses are possessed by people waiting and by the ghost of people who wanted to be back home. And we have all kinds of places, all over the United States, all over Europe, all over everywhere, where we've had previous lives and we've suffered. And when we suffer, we go into imperil. And we leave behind avarice, imperil, an elemental force that does not want to let go. It's so sad, so much in pity. It commits suicide, it hangs itself, it shoots itself, yeah? And then it becomes a ghost, a spirit, yeah? Lingering and affecting other people to think similar things. If you ever become possessed by a spirit, you get so hateful and so, despising anything that could work out for you, yeah? Everything is all bad. Everything is all shitty. You look at people and you find their fault. You think of things and you think of bad things. That's possession. Yeah, that's when your soul is so weak, and your body is so weak. Yeah, and your emotions are so constant in finding fault and looking for fault and seeing fault and having friends that do the same thing, and all the movies you watch and all the TV programs that you watch and all the things you like to read about and talk about and gossip. Yeah, those things become terrible entities, terrible life forms that trip us up. They give us all kinds of bad karma, all kinds of illusions. But the main thing they give us is ignorance. Ignorance, where you cannot tell the difference if someone is ripping you off, lying to you, deceiving you, taking your hard-earned money, Enron, all these millionaires, billionaires, old people, everybody, all getting ripped off, billions and billions of dollars. And I can name at least 100 people over the last 15 years that have taken over $5 billion as an individual from humanity. Yeah? Taking it. And they don't just grab it out of the air. They take it out of old people's pockets. Yeah? They take it out of the mortgage of homes. Yeah? They take it out of your income. Yeah? If you're old, it's where you retire. All the money for your retirement. Yeah? If you put it into stocks and you think this is stocks, and you put it into Enron and you think it's stock, and kind of find out it's not stock. Or you join a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Most of New York, most of rich people get ripped off. By their lovers, by their lawyers, by their bookkeepers, yeah, by their best friends, and their best friends' friends. Yeah. It's a constant, corrupt scenario where all this money is made. But because of our ignorance, because of our lack of discernment, our lack of ability to be good human beings, you get what you give. Yeah? Undeniably, you get the worst outcome that you cannot justify or verify because it's usually outside your hands. Yeah? Car accidents, plane accidents, even a terrible disease, of all the things that we're going through. Yeah? It's out of our hands. Yeah? And how well can we deal with that being out of our hands? Because everything, we're under the delusion that everything is in our hands. We can pay our bills, we got a job, as though that's going to be the same for forever. It's not. We're not in a real system of love and compassion. Yeah? Not in a humane system. Yeah? Nowhere in the world. They're trying. They have some socialism here, they have some benefits here, they take care of health and all that. But if you study long enough, you'll find corruption everywhere. Yeah? And you'll find it in all forms. Yeah? And it's literally weakening the very fiber of every nation that's trying to become a good country that cares for its people. Yeah? And does all the right things. But if you search enough, if you look enough, you'll find the corruption is whittling away what money they are inheriting. As a nation, yeah, presidents could be taking trillions of dollars of gold, oil, Arabia, yeah, all the oil. It doesn't go to the people. It goes to a few Arabs, yeah, a few kings, yeah, a few princes, yeah, a very few, yeah, and that is a whole nation. Can't move forward. Yeah. And they corrupt everything. When they build all those wonderful big buildings, all the people working for it to build it is being corrupted. Taken from other countries, they're not paid, they're treated like slaves. Yeah. And those countries sell those people, like Korea, North Korea. They sell those people to these people in Arabia and other nations that buy very inexpensive slavery, to get the job done. Yeah. These are corrupt people, corrupt in the heart, corrupt in the mind, corrupt in their activities. So how do we beat this? Yeah? How do we save humanity? How do we save the children? How do we make it possible for the earth not to turn into a flaming fire? Yeah? Every summer, all we deal with is fires and floods. Yeah? Yeah? Because we're just wiping away the trees, we're wiping away the Amazon, we're burning away the Amazon. What used to be the Amazon was the lungs of the planet. Now it's the main cause of carbon in the air. The main cause. It used to be what took the carbon out of the air. But now, because of all the burning that goes on there, in order to clear more land, yeah, and provide you tires and sugar and all kinds of products that you think are necessary, yeah, because we're in a delusion, and it's an illusion. And when you're in a state in your consciousness and you're ignorant, you think you understand. Oh, I'm Democratic. Oh, I'm Republican. That's enough. It is not. You must learn to become enlightened. You must become enlightened. Yeah. You can't take this any short way. You got to take full responsibility for this world, because you're going to reincarnate. Yeah. And you've always been reincarnating. And that's why you have such a sadness, such boredom, yeah, lack of intrigue, yeah. This never worked out before, Why should we put all our hope in it? When you go through all this business opportunity in your previous life and you get shot because you make more money, and your business partner wipes you out or steals from you, and you finally commit suicide. This is how it works. This is how we live in an inhumane world. Inhumane. And the only way it gets weird is when we don't recognize what's going on and we allow the reincarnation of the same evil people to come back and not go through justice. Yeah? There has to be a time where justice begins. Yeah? And that's the purpose of my incarnation. Yeah, I create a law. I don't set that law up. I don't say, these are the laws, this is what you got to do. But I set up a law that establishes the ability for people to discern and discriminate and gain their heart, awaken their heart, which gives them strength. So when someone like Trump or anybody else like that comes along, we could do something about it. We can stand back and go, did he really say that? Is he lying that much? Is this really happening? Yeah. And God sets up, when we're ready, God sets up an educational process for us to go through, which quickens humanity into a state of enlightenment. Yeah. And you don't have a choice. Yeah. This is good karma, not bad karma. This is good karma. Yeah, but it is judgment. Yeah, it is justice, and injustice will be the way in which we see the world. Not that it's a corrupt world or a bad world, but that behind the scene there is reasons as to why things are the way they are. Yeah, when you hire people from the military who have PTSD to become police officers, and you train them that the first rule is to become aggressive, take charge, and pull this person down to the ground and use violence if you have to, but be in charge. Be in charge. That doesn't matter if it's an old lady, it doesn't matter if it's anybody, even a kid. Your way of approaching the scenario is take charge. physical, emotional, and mental. And they learn that in the military. The moment you get in the military, they call you a weasel little worm, and tell you amount to nothing, you mean nothing, you're nobody. And they're willing to say this to you right in your face by the thousands. Yeah, every single guy who's in charge of another guy in the military treats the lesser guy that way. It's training. It's set up. Yeah, there is no humanity. Yeah, it's a building on creating a sense of being inhumane and thinking that that's justifiable. That's how we get shit done. Yeah, that's how we get it done. Yeah, and it's the same with football. It's the same with most things. Yeah, it's how we get it done. We use aggression. Yeah, we use force. Yeah, we become predators. Yeah, and if corruption's going on, do you think this is the top of the line of predators? It sure is. Yeah, and you're in a world in a state of ignorance, not aware of the fact that this is a predator scenario. Yeah, and that your way of looking at the world, thinking that the world is going to take care of itself, that it's got laws and it's got ways of fixing it. It's not true. It only changes through enlightenment. Yeah, so enormous things in a healing crisis, when you deal with the soul or vibrational energy or the blessing of something, yeah, the beginning of it starts off as a blessing. It starts off as a healing crisis. It's an exorcism. Yeah. First there's a big no. First there's a lot of nervousness. First there's no way. I'm not attracted to that. Can't even listen to the puja. I can't listen to the music. It makes me nervous, makes me upset. I want to run. Yeah. And you're possessed. And what's possessing you is possessing you to behave like that. Yeah. Where in your higher nature, you'd be in a state of glory and receiving mercy and being forgiven for layers and layers and layers of sins that were placed upon you that were not justified. And in the presence of the Lord, you get that taken off. Yeah. But there's nothing, you can read the Bible and go, oh, yeah, that's what they say, But it's not in the church. Yeah. No one goes through what it takes for that to happen. Yeah. And it takes a lot. It takes enlightenment. It takes the ability to become enlightened and purified. Yeah. So we're in a world to where everybody wants Kentucky Fried Chicken. Everybody wants McDonald's. Everybody wants whatever, And then they go, well, why is it I have high blood pressure? I have diabetes because my grandmother had diabetes, and I got breast cancer coming because my mom had breast cancer, or I've got this because of genetics. Or maybe I did something weak, and made myself weak by smoking too much, drinking too much, certain things. You can have reasonings behind it, but it is not a lifting of ignorance. Yeah, you got to lift the ignorance. You got to lift it. Yeah. And that's what I do. Yeah, I penetrate people with light, vibrational energy that comes from three vehicles. It comes from the ashram. Yeah, that means that every single one of you is God's children. God's children. And in that, this is an ashram. Yeah, this is an ashram. Yeah, but the thing is that you kind of like kick God out, and then you question whether or not God exists. And you have no historical, verifiable understanding of the previous existence of God and its historical relationship to our planet. It's wiped away by your ignorance, by life after life. Your time's taken up by your mom talking, saying, oh, you're Jewish. Don't listen to those Christians. Yeah? Or your aunt screaming at you saying, I'm Catholic. Don't pay any attention to those Jews. Yeah? Or Italians, just going, wow, the mafiosos, no, nothing wrong with that. It's the way of the clan. It's our tribe. It's how we behave. Yeah, I'm Sicilian. You go back to Sicily, we are all mafioso. Yeah, it's our nature. It's what we do. The Pope himself comes from the mafia. If you know the history. If you know the history. He killed people. He bought his way in, became Pope. It happened over and over and over again. This is the story of truth is important. And if we keep layering it over, with the delusion that hypocrisy and that level of wrongness isn't still going on, and you're still just as ignorant, and we're on the way to destruction. Planetary destruction. Greenhouse effect. Complete lack of water anywhere other than salt water. Yeah? Too much water because it just now is flooding and there's no way for us to control it. Yeah? And our senses are not saying, well, we should build these dikes and we should share that water throughout the United States and create different canals that move through and allow the water to move slowly. These are common engineering ways of thinking. If we had a soul, if we dealt with things, but we're not. We're dealing with corruption, and that corruption is corrupting our minds, and we're working under a place in which taxes are not right, the wages are not right. All of this is all very wrong. We don't even have insurance, and our cars are all going to be taken away by 2035, and we have to have all electric cars. Where am I going to get the money for that? How is this going to happen when everybody is pressured into this world change without the humanity of making that change as an infrastructural shift, which is what's going on right now. And we're not aware of it. We're not aware of it. We're not aware of the fact that over $5 trillion is going into the future of humanity that will change everything for us. The poverty level of all children in the United States, the relationships of schools, and whether or not we ever have to pay another large loan for the rest of our lives. Not only will we not have to pay it, the loans we have today will be eliminated. Because they're corrupt. They were designed in a corrupt, illegal manner. And we need to develop a lack of ignorance and have some substance. And that substance comes from our physical body. And we have no idea. Because the physical body is filled with light and the Holy Spirit. And you all talk together like you're one mind when you're in the Holy Spirit. If you're not, then you have your own separate minds and your own separate view, and you got to really make sure through pride that your view is the view that is understood. So you're battling heads, you're competing. And it's competing with ignorance and not knowing anything. Nothing. And it's through complementation and sharing and caring and working out experiments, things that we're going to try, but we're going to do the best job to build that bridge. We're not just going to build a bridge. We're going to do the best job in building that bridge. We're going to develop new technologies, new advancements. And as we develop this, we're going to move on to another bridge and make that bridge even better and faster. And, everything we do, we're going to do it this way. Rather than all the buildings that we're seeing today falling to the ground. And building large, tall buildings in Florida as the ocean is going underground and flooding the underground of all of Florida, because Florida in the next 20 years won't exist. It'll be taken over by the ocean. And it's already being taken over by the ocean. So there's not a building that sits without it hitting to a watermark, where you're at the first floor of the building and that is full of water, And if the foundation of the building can stay and all that, and somehow you could boat yourself to your building, you can get back upstairs and stay in your house, But don't be ignorant. Realize this is what's coming down. This is what's happening. So we need to rebuild. We need a new infrastructure. And when we see that happening, that's the signs of Christ. When you listen to Trump says, well, we don't need any new, they ain't even talking infrastructure. We're going into bigger military use. bigger bombs, more war. I want to fight Korea before I get out of office. You know? Yeah, need to wipe out a country. I need to make embargoes against China and against Cuba and all hardship everywhere all around the world. And let's eliminate the climate scenario and just completely back off. You know, and go about building more oil tankers and make that oil line first and foremost, getting that across the United States. Yeah, that was Trump. Yeah, I don't believe in windmills. I don't believe in solar. I don't believe in anything. Yeah, that comes from God. That comes from your future. Yeah, that's handed to you by God. Yeah. Coming in 1951 was the time for me to establish the foundation of higher mind and technologies from Einstein and everybody in order to get us to the place to where now when we reincarnate, we have millions of people who are highly bright in their mind and fully capable of fulfilling the mission of Christ and making this a better world, creating new infrastructure, creating all new things. But it's not going to go into war. It's going to go into humanity because we are humane. When it goes to war, you're creating inhumanity and inhumane circumstances that come out of the war. Nothing good comes out of war. Nothing. Yeah. So this putting all our time and energy into infrastructure and pulling our troops out of war is what's going on today. Yeah? And you need to raise your ignorance and to listen to what I'm saying, because this is a sign. Yeah? This is a really good sign that humanity is showing stages of enlightenment. Yeah? We're even understanding that the fact in January 6th that there was an insurrection. Yeah? And it was led by the President of the United States and his cronies. And many of them left the office, including his daughter and his son-in-law. They were freaking out, knowing this man has gone mad. They went out of here now. Even his attorney got out of there before Christmas, because he knew it was all going to turn out to be a big, grandiose hoax because of your ignorance. When you buy into ignorance, you support a Ponzi scheme. Yeah? And we've had 100 Ponzi schemes over the last 15 years. So ignorance has supported that enormously. But now we're coming into a whole new stage of reality. Yeah? There are new technologies, new advancements, boats, planes, and automobiles that are coming out that are all electric and conserve energy, regenerate energy through solar or wind generation. Yeah? Highways that will have solar panels along the highway and charging from the bottom of the highway into your car. Yeah? And it will be free. The infrastructure will be built instead of focusing on how we're going to make money out of you. How is it best we can serve you in the transition of this new world? Now, I have set laws into place to make sure that world comes into play. Yeah? Making sure we get rid of all this fossil fuel, making sure we get off of all this use of certain minerals and gases and oils, and the use of plastic, alternative technologies, alternative flaxseed, yeah, hemp, all kinds of things are coming out now and are advancing these new forms of technologies into the world. So we're leaving behind a lot and we're moving forward. Yeah. But the key to humanity's change, their biggest change, is to be aware of the fact that we need justice in our process. Yeah? It's not about, building more prisons or anything like that. It's about doing what's right. Imagine if you have a lot of people on the street and 99% of these people are drug addicts, alcoholics, PTSD, and emotionally unstable to the point they cannot stay in a job or with other people. Yeah? They're psychologically unfit. It's obvious. Yeah? And they're also taking drugs in order to deal with that. They're self-medicating. Yeah? On the lowest level, because they're so ignorant and they're so afraid. They're starving. They have no food. They have no hope. They have nothing. And anywhere they look, there's more and more of them. It's not less, it's more. And that doesn't make them feel better. It makes them feel worse. It makes them feel like there is never a way out of this. This is by mass. We are fallen into the lowest of the lowest inside of society, without society making a difference, doing anything. So what do you do with people like that? What do you do? They're out selling drugs. You go to Seattle, you'll find that in Seattle or Portland, you'll find that there are so many people because the laws were changed. And they made it so that all misdemeanors, going all the way up to heroin, open peeing, open pooping in the public, tents on sidewalks, all those things that would have been misdemeanors, $35, $50, and even time in jail. If you continue breaking the law. But instead, they got people voting in and saying, well, no, I don't think that's right. We're LBGD, and we're the most compassionate in society. So we need to make our own laws. And we're going to take over Seattle and Portland. And we're going to do the same thing with San Francisco. And we're going to ruin Earth. We're going to take it down into a cesspool and destroy you through an illusion and delusion, making you support a Ponzi scheme. Because you have no idea this homosexual process is a Ponzi scheme. It's a way to take your children's souls, your husband's souls, your wife's souls, your future friends, your future everything. They're all being drawn in to this corrupt process against society, as though society is against them. And society is not against them. It's God that's against them. And they get really ticked off if you mention that. They'll start their own religion. They'll take down churches and put in rainbow flags and, make it all kinds of, as though this is okay by God. But it's not. And the city goes to hell. And the people become possessed. And they go out rioting and hitting and doing all things. And these people were people who were born from 1990 and 1980 on. And those people, when you reincarnate, if you look at people who were born in the 1920s and the 1910s, they would die around 1980, 1990. Those are people who were in the SS. Those are people who fought in that war, either one side or the other. But they fought and died in that war. And there's no way when you go there and die, fight, those people reincarnate from the 40s. And they come back, And they try and make a better scenario. There's no way I want to do this. Because a lot of the people who fought against it. So they come back as hippies, peace-loving hippies. They come back as beatniks. They come back as desiring to be artists. Anything but go to war. Anything but war. So there was the first group of people who came back from the time of that cycle. When they came back, the first ones who died in the war came back with enough paying off of bullshit of having to go there and go through that shit. So when they came back, they had this extra amount of love that was able to get through shit and do things and want to do things and they started studying Buddhism and Hinduism and alternative religions and yoga. And not Satanism. They really wanted to expand their horizon in finding the soul and attaining more soul. So those people who were born in the 50s, the masses, largest masses of people on earth who were born, are an enormous large group of people who are more enlightened than the people who got away with it. The people who were in the SS and joined the Catholic Church and became priests, went to Argentina and other Spain and other locations, and live there as previous SS officers, but now with priest robes and everything, and they get away with it, and they become pedophiles, and they become perverts, and they become horrifying scenarios inside of the Catholic Church, because they created more processes of being possessed. It's a group, a collective body, of people who were in their previous lives possessed, did things that were possessed, came back possessed. So this is the 80s. By the time the 80s and the 90s come in, these people are coming, and they're angry. And they have no interest in social norm. And they want to blame everybody for the circumstances they're in, rather than think of reincarnation, and they're the ones who did it. Not somebody else. But we all reincarnate, and we all need to change our ways so we can make this a better place. But this group, who held out lies, and conned their way through life, and then finally died, in the 80s and the 70s. When they reincarnate, they really think they've got it, and they don't feel obligated to any kind of political system of any sort, So they end up in Seattle, they end up in the LBGD, they end up in all these different groups. And they're strong. Their process of their desire body is strong because they're a group. They were military before. They were Heil Hitler before. They had reasons and tyranny and other things, and they went up against socialism. They went up against tyranny. They were crazy, thinking only evil existed. And they were representatives of evil who were fighting other forms of evil, competing against each other. Just like all the dictators of the time. There were more dictators on earth at their time than ever before in history. And there's a reason, because they come as a group. They come and go as group. So we need to do something about this, people. There are millions of people out there with tattoos up and down, coming up to their nose and around their neck. There's people out there who think that they're boys who think they're girls, and girls who think they're boys, and people going on the in-between. And they're recruiting little children, and those little children, they're not so much as a recruit, but a reincarnation of the previous group that just died, who were also people who lived in the earlier stages but died of AIDS and died of other means through their perversion. And then they reincarnate, and they're very young in their process of knowing this is the kind of person I am. And they're very prideful, and it's all about pride. And pride is the root of evil. Pride is what comes out of Satan and Lucifer. Pride. You talk to Jesus, you don't ask him, how about your pride, Don't you have any pride? You go on a cross? Don't you have any pride? Can't you stand up against this? That essence of what is known as pride is the delusion of grandeur that comes from hate and selfishness. So all these reincarnates come with their leader. Hitler was amongst the group. Mussolini is amongst the group. And if you study it and understand it, we've got an enormous number of people amongst this group. North Korea, Vietnam, Japan, China, Spain. There were a bunch of dictators over the last 2 to 3 generations. And they have groups, because that's how they become dictators. And if you look at the Trump situation, it is a conspiracy as a cult. They're not even Republicans, they're Trumpans, They're totally Trumpians, They're not involved, those Republicans might be okay, but if they don't agree with Trump, we're not along with them. We're in our own thing, And that's where you're sticking to, I follow Hitler. I follow Mussolini. These are personalities that you follow, and that's showing the signs of extreme weak reincarnation. And their leader is reincarnated. And we can overthrow this thing. We can heal it. Just by you understanding that I am here. Yeah? And there are millions and billions of others of the light that are here. Yeah? And Biden is here as president, putting together all that's necessary financially to save the world. Save the world. Yeah? He will cooperate with all the nations in order to bring this. By the year 2035, we will have so few wars on Earth. So few wars. By the year 2045, every nuclear missile, bomb, whatever, will be dismantled, taken apart, not even thought to be used as an accelerator for electricity of any kind. Just completely let go of, because our advancements of understanding that there's no way to recycle this shit, there's no way to deal with it, it is evil in itself. And you have to be corrupt and low in your mind to think that this is something we should work with. So by the year 2045, we will get past the same thoughts over oil we will drop. Then we will drop nuclear, and we will drop other means of plastic and carbon and taking of diamonds out of the ground and taking of gold out of the ground so that women can have beautiful gold rings and people of different races could wear their black, different types of all black with all their gold chains and all their gold of everything, just to make manifest glamour. Delusions of pride. Your gold, all that gold you got on you is nothing more than pride. Yeah? So all of this gets wiped away. It gets wiped away, cleansed, purified. Yeah? People come and go. All these people that have come, that have all the LGBT and everything, and all the homosexual priests, and all the people in the scouts that raped all the little boys, and all the women that have been raped by their own husbands, trust me, that is all going to go away. It's all going to go away because of justice. And it's only in the heart, only through love, does justice manifest, because it's a karmic entanglement. And through the Lord, the Holy Spirit unties those knots so they can't get back to you. Your problem is that you're weak, you're ignorant, and you don't know how to defend yourself from what's coming. You have bad karma in the past. It's not yours personally, but if we don't fix this, it will come back to you. So that's how I save you. That's how I change everything for you. I create a science, and I ordain everybody into the house of God. Yeah? And I permeate this planet with ideas and ideologies and technologies and advancements that the whole world starts using. You can't imagine how many windmills are out there right now. How much solar is laid out over the land. Yeah? How much is going back to nature. Yeah? How many people are going from bad farming to good farming? How much farming will go from being in farms to being in buildings? High-rise buildings, no longer for people, but for plants. Yeah? And then as time goes on, we find we don't need plants. That isn't what we eat. Yeah? And all the animals, they graze through pastures. And that's how we maintain the forest. That's how we change a desert into flowers and grass, is by animals going around and grazing, even in the desert. Because their poop gets laid, and the things get done, and the plants start growing, and the oxygen starts changing, and you start getting more rain. You could do this to the Sahara. You could do this to anywhere in the world. But it requires our right use of animals. Not putting them in cages, but moving them so that we can have them graze. And natural grazing brings back the forest. It brings back all the plants that are down there. They come back. They're rooted back, and they'll come back. So an enormous amount of changes in the world will take place, but it's not going to be because you're to tyranny and dictators, you're forced to do certain things. But through education, like on YouTube and other things, you'll find, and as I teach, I say, that A lot of people want to go to vegetarianism, and a lot of people want to be thinking they're really healthy, following that line, and that it's, and because the hardest thing in the world to move forward on is the truth. It's a whole lot easier to follow ignorance and half-truth than it is to follow the whole truth. Yeah? So anything that you think is the truth, you got 99% chance that that's probably a half-truth. And that as time goes on, you're going to find out that that was really true. Yeah? So you change your mind. Yeah? And you keep changing. And you evolve. Yeah? And that could take a long time. A long, long time. Yeah? So I incarnate in order to establish certain truths and certain techniques and certain tools so people can be advanced in their mind and collectively come together and change the world. So imagine we have a greenhouse effect, and we have an enormous problem with the ocean and the greenhouse effect of making all Greenland and all of the North Pole, the South Pole, everything starting to thaw, and rising of the ocean, and a whole bunch of things, and the drying and the heat growing, in places like 120, 125 degrees in Death Valley, 120 in Phoenix, Arizona, 120 in San Diego, breaking records beyond anybody's wildness. Nowhere in history did we have those records, and yet those just happened this year. And we got some of the worst floods. Yeah. On one side of the country is floods, thunderstorms, and tornadoes. Yeah. And on the other side of the country, because we have this mountain range that keeps us from sharing the water back and forth easily, and since we take the easy road, we don't do it. It's too hard, too difficult. Yeah. Just like in saying, well, what if we were to provide medicine for everybody and we had full health care? No, that's too difficult. I don't want to go there. I can't think like that. Be too hard. So many things you got to do. So much money. Yeah. Everybody goes crazy. Yeah, because they're greedy, and they don't know they're greedy. They don't know it. Yeah, and when we're in a process co-creating with God, you're going to go through some major transitions because you got it wrong, and God's got it right. Yeah. And the truth, when you get down to it, God's going to tell you your life is super duper simple. Super duper simple. You have to eliminate Kentucky Fried Chicken because that's suicide. You have to eliminate Burger King because that's suicide. You have to eliminate all your candy bars and your Wonder Bread and your wonderful buns and all those beautiful chips. They have to go away. Just like getting rid of oil cars, and coal and all that. We're thinking, wow, and the smoking of cigarettes. We raise consciousness. We can move people to make changes in their lifestyle to do right things. But these are nothing compared to saving the earth. Right now, people are led to do what it takes to destroy the earth, and they're doing it under the illusion they're saving the earth. Yeah? And a grand bunch of these people are people from previous life Hitlerian processes of thinking, just like if you were back in the Hitlerian day, you would think you're the Aryan freaking race. And you're so pure. You're so special. You can have all the tattoos you want to make you what you are. You can be LGBT because you are the superior race. Yeah? On every level. All the people born within that cycle of time are going to have those thought forms pressured on them. Yeah? Because whether you're from Spain or you're from China, all of them have the same thought. Our communism is a superior race, and we'll make everybody think that. Our Russian Soviet Union is a superior race. We're going to make everybody think that. Yeah. But in the end, they don't have food. They don't have anything. Their cars are the worst. Everything is the worst until this new age process began. And we began new technologies and new advancements. But now we're going to come in here. We're bringing in solar, we're bringing in windmills, and we're going, oh wow, we could save the world. We can, if we drive cars, we're not putting out pollutants. Yeah, but it's not true. There's still a billion times more to do, and we're being programmed to eat certain things, and by eating those things, we're creating industries, people, industries that are taking all your money and all the purity on the earth and all the waterways, and every factory that is built is going to create pollution and destructive life force in the boxes that go out, and the people that eat it, and the people who work there. It's destructive. It is temporary, and its day is death. It's not an ongoing thing. It will die because it doesn't serve. If it doesn't serve, it becomes a cancer. Just like us. And that's the same thing with anything that's produced that's wrong, like GM making bad cars or this and that, and steel factories and coal mining and all those things. They die. And we suffer through the process of thinking, well, that was our life. Those are the things we need to do. So there's this transition in the consciousness of humanity that is awakening humanity, and it's mainly done through the surge of economy. Here we have, infrastructure of $5 trillion going in, and no one is going, holy shit. I mean, we never was able to do $1 trillion before. How do we jump to $5 trillion? How did this happen? And how is it, what is going to happen from it? Is it all just going to be wasted, like Krishna gets involved in it, or Trump's daughter gets involved in it, and all those family members who get involved with all those trillions of dollars that are given, like for the pandemic, it all just goes up in smoke. Goes into their pockets. It goes into people that you're not qualified to say should be doing the job and get paid for the job. Nothing. All the money that was put out was wasted. Billions of dollars, millions of dollars given to very high-end companies that didn't need any money. And they didn't give that money back. They were forced to give it back. And it should have never happened. This is a real reality, and we're stepping in to what it's like to have someone and a group of someones, a lot of someones, who are so organized and so professional and so qualified that they can take $5 trillion and turn it into a complete restructuring of humanity. Complete restructuring. Roads, freeways, your infrastructure to your hospitals, the taxing of all the children, your ability to maybe get into a place to where by the year 2025 there isn't a woman who works who can't take maternity leave and be paid while that happens. By the year 2050, we'll be in a place to where almost everybody who's employed is employed with benefits. It's illegal not to have employment based in that way. And the infrastructure, our government makes that possible. It's not so much the business, it's a cooperative process that allows it to happen. The company gets all kinds of benefits, and things are less expensive, and all kinds of things come in to make that happen, so it's economical. As we continue, by the year 2050, and we make changes, imagine, here I'm saying, become carnivore, and that's a long distance down the road. But what happens if the masses of humanity choose to do that? And in doing that, we do it with enlightenment. We go, okay, well, the meat that I'm going to eat is going to be grass-fed. Well, that cuts out the whole production. Masses of companies, no longer get support. And family-owned companies, small companies, that'll grow the beef and butcher the beef and ship the beef. And it starts making businesses available, new businesses. Because right now, hardly anybody wants to be a butcher. Hardly anybody wants to raise cattle. Hardly anybody wants to be a farmer. Hardly anybody wants to go into those businesses because they don't pay And they're overwhelmingly a corporation that you're forced to do wrong things. You're forced to lie to your customer. You're forced to have bad cows and treat them badly. Go through all of this for what? You don't want to be a bad person. So a lot of people don't want that job. They don't want to continue that work. But we're in a new infrastructure of new social understandings to where we're going to have people who are coming out of high school who are going to learn that, okay, yeah, well, now that you're a carnivore, now that you're eating meat like this, what do you think of those animals? Do you think you'd like to get involved and maybe raising them? And then they go on to Future Farmers of America, which probably doesn't exist anymore, but it sure will again. Yeah. And it will be a good job, a good paying job without it ripping your heart out and not getting paid anything. You'll know the people you're selling to. You'll have a process of selling good quality meat. You'll do it in the most humane way. Every single thing is developed through humanity. Yeah, everything. Yeah. So imagine we do that, and now we come to find out, not only by being humane and eating this, and we're on the other side, they're telling us we're being humane, we're killing animals, we're eating them, what bad karma, all this stuff, and it's totally opposite of that. It's a matter of discernment, discrimination, and a lack of ignorance. And as that is applied, then over time, you get a healthier body. Yeah? What you thought you needed insurance, yeah? Now you don't need insurance. Your insurance is eating meat. Yeah? You don't need dental insurance. You don't need a dentist. Your insurance and your dental work is by eating meat. Your gum disease goes away. Your wobbly teeth go away. Your cavities go away. It's just a fact. That's a fact. And that's how God created this thing. Extremely simple. So here, you're only eating meat. You're not eating any plants? No, I'm not eating any plants. Nope. But I can if I want to. I can eat a little bit here and there. You can. Yeah. Doesn't bother you. But if it does bother you, and as you become more pure by eating this mono diet, and you start to eat something else, you add that into your diet, but you're not adding everything. You're just adding that one thing. You think, I'm going to try a potato. I love potatoes. You eat the potato, and all of a sudden, you have gastric problems that you haven't had in a year because you were on this mono diet that healed your gastric gut problem. Or you start getting nervous because your adrenaline changes. Yeah? And your process of whether or not you can control your insulin, because now you're shooting sugar into you and you want to keep it going. You're taking a nibble here, taking a nibble there, thinking, this ain't going to do anything to me. But after a while, your sugar goes up, your nervousness goes up, your mental power goes down. All these things that you're being healed of will go away if you don't stay in this one particular focus, which is simplicity. You just got to come to the reality. God loves you so much that God gives you very little to have to do to stay alive. Very little. If you just do what God wants you to do. Yeah? If you read the Bible, you find Adam and Eve, yeah? And they get through this process with Satan, and now they have children, and they have Cain and Abel, and Cain grows up, Abel grows up, and they want to do something good for God. And Adam always wants to do something good for God, is always in right relationship with God. So Adam chooses meat to eat. If you read the Bible, that's what it says. Adam chooses meat to eat. Yeah? And Cain and Abel comes up, and one goes, here's all my vegetables and my fruit, and this is your meal. This is what I'm offering. And God goes, I don't want that. And Adam says, I don't want that. And he goes off really pissed off, and he kills his brother because he did want the meat. And the jealousy came between the two because one was ill, emotionally ill, because he was not eating the right thing, not receiving God's life. The life force that comes from God comes with a lifestyle. Yeah? And if you break away from that lifestyle due to your pride, due to your ego, to your selfish ambition, and try and find fault in other people, masses of people, who are all by nature living a certain good way. Yeah? And then try and move that in an opposite direction. Yeah, you're taking away from nature. You're wiping away nature. So there isn't a religion, there isn't anything that's actually developed that isn't there to take us away from God and nature. Yeah, it's just the way it is. Because God and nature is the hard way. It's the hard way. The easy way is to go against God and nature, because there's elemental forces that flow that way all the time. It's everywhere. It's in the rain, it's in the thunder, it's in life. Yeah? There are elemental forces that turn left and are constantly against all things. But we as human beings, or even animals, or flowers, or trees, we are built to be sustainable. We are able to sustain fires. Trees burn down, but it was the fire that allowed the tree to grow back. Without the fire, the seed of the tree would never sprout and come out, and you wouldn't have a tree. So it's nature setting this thing up. It's God setting this thing up. But if we go against that, yeah, and we start eating the wrong things and start doing all the wrong things, and we do everything under glamour, which is based on corruption, and we don't know that we've been corrupted. If we are given flour to eat, and we go, oh, flour and butter and sugar, thank you, and you've changed your chemistry, and as you continue eating this crap, now you're eating donuts, and you got donuts in stores, and you got bread and donuts, and you got burgers that have donuts on top of them. This is us, yeah. And we can't even eat bacon without making it sugary. Yeah, and you can't eat bacon with it sugary. You can't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't eat smoked bacon. You shouldn't eat bacon that has been cured. Yeah, any meats that's been cured. Processing is not simplicity. Yeah, eating things in nature in their natural way, coming to us in its natural way. If we take an animal and have that animal, we should eat as much of that animal as we can, and not just take it for its hide, or take it for its horns, or take it for some small amount. If you take it for a small amount, don't kill that animal. Choose the animals that you could eat the whole thing as much as possible. Yeah, and those kind of behaviors, that process changes humanity's relationship to how we deal with ourselves, with our hate. Because one side is telling you, oh yeah, because we eat meat, we have wars. Because we eat meat, we're masculine and aggressive. And that's not true. Women eat meat too. Yeah, and they want it just as much as a man does. It doesn't have anything to do with your hormones of aggression and needing to kill. Yeah. If you weren't doing it, the woman would learn how to get a bow and arrow together, learn how to use a knife, learn how to create a snare, learn how to feed her family, or she shouldn't get pregnant. Yeah, it's nature. It's just the way it is in nature. It's simplified. Yeah, and if we're all eating the same simple thing, imagine we're all eating meat. We're all having this abundant life. Yeah, because we're not having to grow corn. We're not having to grow soy. And our consciousness grows to the point to where we are having enough love in our life. We're not taking animals off the land and throwing them in our house and call them on our loved ones, our children. Saying this dog is my second kid. Or all 5 dogs are all my kids. And you spend all your time opening dog food and feeding them dog food and cleaning up their shit, or their cat box and all that comes from that. Yeah, or you cage birds. Those are bad behaviors because you don't know how to live your life in a right lifestyle. If you do, your mind goes clear, your element of understanding goes clear. Yeah, you're able to witness what's going on without the bad karma of running around and not knowing that the whole planet is being used and abused and destroyed by you having a desire body that doesn't know what it should be eating. And it's just ravenously running around eating shit. I mean, most of people can live off the cardboard boxes that they're eating the cereal from. You get almost the same benefit. Yeah, the carbs, everything. Yeah, you can eat that. You can live off of it. Yeah, you could take your shoelaces, you could take your boots, and stick them in hot water and drink it and live for quite a while. Because you live off of small amount of nutrients, and if you get the right ones, you'll be amazed what will come from it. Yeah, yeah. So by that change, we have the ability to move our humanity to a place to where we could take care of all the hunger. Imagine all the people in India who will not touch a cow, will not eat a cow, yeah, because they have within their system a belief system, and at the same time they have superstitions and all kinds of pagan things that are going on that are keeping them from any form of enlightenment. But at the same time, they're screaming out, we're the most enlightened people on planet Earth. And it's not true. They're the most unenlightened people on planet Earth. Maybe at some given time in history, there may have been a wonderful teacher, and there usually was. There was Krishna, there was Rama, there was Jesus, there was Buddha, but that doesn't mean that all the people who were incarnated at that time were Buddhist or Christians, yeah, or Hindu in relationship to Shiva or Brahma or Vishnu, yeah. Because if you read those stories, they really didn't have that close relationship with humanity. Their relationship was to destroy and change the power of demigods controlling humanity, usurping humanity, and creating all the bad karma in the world. If you read any of those stories, whether it be the Bible or any of them, that's what it's about. Yeah? So it's really all the influence of whether or not we can get into the right life, called the tree of life. Yeah? And it comes through justice. Yeah? By us not being imperiled and destroyed by bad habits of smoking and drinking and eating bad things and not knowing if we should have just toast for breakfast and that's it and go on our way and eat jam and toast and Pop-Tarts, because that's what we saw in a commercial and that's what's available and that's what the idiot inside you tells you want, and we're all living this idiot life. Where we don't know what it is we really want. We don't know what it is we really should be eating. So my influence is to give teachings along those lines and really influence people on all levels, the physical, emotional, and the mental body. Yeah? And if you get these things worked out, imagine, if you do the right things on the physical body, you're affecting your brain because that is your physical body. If you feed it, you fix your brain. Yeah? If you give yourself the right elements, you fix your brain, yeah? And if you're not doing all the wrong things, then your solar body, your solar plex, your psychic energy is not connected to the whole of the world that's doing wrong things, making you feel like an idiot, making feel like, oh, you probably do wrong things too, because you have an astral body that have potential habits. And if you don't break them, and if you don't know what you're really supposed to be doing, then you're going to think it's more complicated than it really is. Yeah? And that's the difficulty of the heart, the difficulty of the wisdom, the side of wisdom, the side of intuition, is that when it's on a linear side, when it's weak in itself, it doubts itself. It doubts it's doing the right thing. It doubts whether or not it's helping other people. It's probably hurting people rather than helping people. It's a weakness. It's a flaw. It's a characteristic in the heart that if we don't have a strong heart and we don't develop that heart, it will work against us and give us low self-esteem and a sense of lack of worth. And that's what we will be seen as. Our bosses will treat us this way, all heartlessly, because they're picking up our own heart. This is how we feel about ourselves, and they're picking it up. Does that make sense? Yeah? So it's this awakening, this enlightenment that is being moved into the planet. I'm taking imperil out of cars. I'm putting soul into cars. No one ever imagined that could be done. I'm putting soul into robots where everybody thought, oh, robots, oh, AI, they're going to take over the world, and we're not even going to have a need to live. They're going to use us. to do things for them, and that's all so diluted. It's all that little scary monster inside your head telling you these things, and it's coming out of your heartless world that makes you think heartless thoughts toward things. And it's all a lack of self-esteem, lack of self, and you can't see your worth, and you can't see it coming to you. But I'm telling you, right now we're putting $5 trillion into your life's infrastructure. Hospitals, cars, solar, wind generators, everything for all of humanity. And it's going to begin over the next 3 years, but it'll take us at least 5 years to spend that $5 trillion to build the infrastructures. And it's not going to military. It's not going to build all these things in the military. We have people in private life that are going into space. So we don't have to put a lot of money into space. We don't have to put a lot of money in the military because it's going to go away. We don't have to put a lot of money into oil wells and developing how we're going to get energy anymore because we've found alternative energy sources. Yeah? And that's what the infrastructure's for. We're to support the alternative sources and bring those into our everyday life. Yeah? Yeah? So that will change our consciousness of our self-worth, because all this is being done by awakened hearts that are busting their ass to build the electric cars, the batteries, the infrastructure to put this together. Yeah? So that in itself is the one thing that will move humanity into not just world peace, but the elimination of war. Yeah? Because it's at that point, 2050, 2045, it's at that point that most of the people who need to be justly helped, people who are on the street, people who are poor, people who are mentally insane, even Trump, he needs to be put straight so he could see he's crazy. He needs to see he's crazy before he can make any changes. He needs to see it. And he can't be supported by his wife or his children and others going, no, you're not crazy. Why? Because they're crazy too. Yeah? And they're supporting this crazy delusionary effect that gets churned up in people and makes people say and do things that are completely insane, cult-like. Yeah? But that's going to change. Because these people everybody gets to wake up. And the last people who wake up is like Michael Jackson. He never woke up, He went to hell in flame and glory, And his true self made manifest over and over and over 5 to 10 years before he died. So he made statues of himself as Hitler. He declared himself as the reincarnation of Hitler. All these things happened before he died, while he was still fairly healthy. He was judged as a pedophile 5 times. Yeah? He was put under scrutiny inside of humanity. Yeah? Up to the day he died. Yeah? So he didn't get away with shit. He had judgment like you can't imagine. You're just ignorant to how I work. I know these people incarnated. I followed them to the day of their last breath. And I made sure that they were judged, stopped, and they don't return. They end up in hell. Unless they end up in hell, they come back, people. They come back. And you need me, you need this process to make manifest. So my work is that I reincarnate life after life after life. And in this life, or in previous lives, I've lived in India, I've lived in Tibet, I've lived in the East. And I've raised the East up so you can learn from yoga and metaphysics and the things that I developed over there, they could be brought over here into a new science, new technologies, new advancements. They will blend together. Yeah. So for here on out, I stand for the West bringing the East and manifesting the new way of looking at things, a foundation of everything. Everybody wants to be American. Everybody wants to have democracy. Everybody wants what it is I am bringing. Yeah? There isn't a place in the world that doesn't want it. Yeah? And it's going to come into manifestation because of reincarnation And everybody's being judged. I don't care if it's a North Korean dude. Trust me, I am cleaning his clock on a day-to-day basis. You don't know what's going on in his head and how he is going through so much shit because of me. Yeah, there isn't anybody out there who's evil, isn't going through shit because of me. Yeah, and that is going to get thicker and harder for them to continue moving forward, because new advancements, new technologies, new people who don't want to be corrupt and want to make new businesses without corrupt following processes going into it, like maintaining gold, maintaining these different things, whole new industries making manifest, where large masses of people are able to be creative, industrial, and do small-scale things to manifest what it is they have to offer. Changing, like right now, we're coming up with over 30 new electric cars, and 15 of them are out of brand new companies. Never been before. Yeah? How is that possible? This never happened. Only Tesla was the first one to ever bring something into actual manifestation and become something that society could buy. But no, all of a sudden now we're up to 30 cars, and 10 of them are in the same position that Tesla was in just 10, 12 years ago. Yeah? So we're moving in leaps and bounds in ways, and because I am cleaning the clock of people who are alive. People like Sai Baba, people who you don't know are bad. I know they're bad, and they're going to be judged before they leave their body. And they could be your aunt, your uncle, your cousin. I don't give a shit. Yeah? If they're bad, they're going to be raised up into the light, and from that, they're going to have to see themselves, and darkness will not be attractive anymore. People will not have like-mindedness to be drawn into the darkness. That like-mindedness is over with. The vibration of the soul, the changing of people's coming into the light and manifesting into the heart, with the heart waking up, that waking up makes them magnetically attracted to the light. With it asleep and focused down here in the solar plex, you are magnetically attracted to glamours. Prettier is better. Gold and glitzy is better. Richer is better. A doctor is better. All these credentials are better. All these things that gives us separation, that we are not a part of. And as we keep evolving, we're going to find that the only thing we're looking for is honesty and truth, and the ability to be honest and care and share, and not be greedy and prideful, and not be supportive as a group. We will be in a place where hundreds of thousands of people will recognize, and with compassion and empathy, that it's not the right idea in the world to support a child in thinking that it needs to be a boy or a girl when it's not. It's a bright idea in the world to support that person to be what they are, and allow them to get to 30 years old without any other psychological impression as to who you are and what you are needs to be different, because they're in the process of growth. Yeah? By the time they get to 12 and 13, a whole change is going to happen. And that can really mess them up if they're put into another process of people who are using other psychic channels for sexual gratification. And those people are not able to fall out of that temptation. And that temptation redirects their growth and makes their whole process of who they're going to become different. And their voice changes, their mannerism changes, their ideology changes, their whole mechanism changes, because they're all in their solar plex, and they're pulling their hearts down so much they call it all under the guise of love. That everything is based on love. And they're only seeking love. They only want love, but it's not true. What they want is the ability to have sex in a way that is perverted, that keeps them from not feeling guilty. Because sooner or later, the guilt is going to hit. And sooner or later, you have to go all the way back down from the beginning of starting it and not feeling that you're the one who caused it, made you fall so deep, carry on so long, change your condition, change your hormones, shave your head all the time and call yourself Bob, when your name is Julie, But now you've got a mustache and you've got big arms and, a hefty back, and testosterone has taken over. That's where we go wrong. That's where evil comes in. That's when we're trying to control nature. And everything we're doing, whether it be taking coal out of the ground or diamonds out of the ground or gold out of the ground or massively slaying every animal we can come across so we can eat them as finger food, and serve them to our dogs and cats, rather than focus ourselves over the fact that we really don't need such a big variety of food. And all the things we think in variety we don't need. We don't need all these shoes. We don't need all these things. Yeah? And that's our consciousness. As our consciousness goes up, those needs go away. Yeah? So by the time we get down to 2050, which I know a lot of people will be dead, but trust me, you're going to be back, and I'm going to be talking to your ass. Because I die too, and I reincarnate. And the one thing between me and you is that I remember. And I'm the same person who was here last time, so I just carry on. And that's what makes this thing run smoothly. Yeah? That we're all in a collective consciousness and no longer in this separative stage. We're independent personalities. And we're all fighting against who's the most powerful, glorious, most beautiful, richest personality. And our job in this world is to kill our personality, not have it kill us. If we kill our personality, you can live over 1,000 years. People live to 120, and they have a personality, and they're eating shit, and they're drinking whiskey. So your chances of living far longer. If you go back to the Bible, you'll see Adam and Eve lived up to 1,000 years. And every member of their family, that entire lineage going all the way up to Jesus, yeah? The lineage all the way to Methuselah, to Enoch, to Moses, yeah? 1,000 years, 600 years, 700 years, 800 years. Lifetime. A lifetime. And yet we're kicking around at 60, 70, and 80 and get senility. Give me a break. The wisest people on earth were the oldest people on earth because they didn't have senility and they grew old and they became wise and they became hierophants. Yeah? Study the Bible, you'll find that's what Methuselah was. That's what Adam was. That's what Jesus was. And he was only 33, but if under the right structure, he could have lived in the same lifestyle, same life, same vitality. But that's the difference. It's vitality. Without us receiving prasadam, receiving this through the tree of life, just like Adam and all the family through the tree of life, everybody else around them did not live 600, 700, 800 years. They lived 30, 40, 50 years. That was it. And yet, this particular group of people lived hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years because they carried the light from the tree of life. It was in their blood. It was in their consciousness. And they spoke between family. Yeah? And they transmitted that back and forth in transmission. Yeah? So they were a constant lineage of reincarnation. Yeah? And so is everybody else. We're all from that. But we have to get to the point that gives us the tree of life, simplicity. We're in materialism. We're in capitalism. We're in communism. We're in isms that makes us want things that we do not need. Things we don't need. People we don't need. Places, things we don't need. Yeah? We're actually provided everything. And if we take the teachings correctly, which is what I'm going to do. I'm teaching these things, and it's so repetitive. Everything I teach becomes extremely repetitive, yeah? But it leads us slowly but surely into a collective consciousness. When you go onto YouTube and things, and you go, well, I wonder how many people are in the carnivore diet. Oh my God, there's a lot. Psychiatrists, doctors, you know, people of all levels of understanding, people who are vegan, people who are vegetarian, people who are teaching veganism and vegetarianism, all suffering, you know, through their life, trying to find a better way. And when they finally got to a keto diet, to a paleo diet, to carnivore diet, they healed their mental illness, they healed their physical illnesses, they healed their cancers. And yet, all on the other side, when you take that easy path and you listen to idiots, they'll tell you, oh, you eat meat, you're going to get cancer. You eat meat, you're going to get cholesterol. You eat eggs, you're going to die of cancer and cholesterol and everything. You know, all these things that are good for you are bad for you. And all these things over here, probiotics and all these kind of things you think are what you really need to have, but in reality, what in you requires a probiotic? You know, how is it? What, were you once a vegetable? Were you once, you know, growing from that life? You need to photosynthesize and work with things in that way like you're a plant? Or are you an animal? And do you build cells? And do you have glands and organs? And are you a human being? And you have chakras. You have minor chakras and major chakras. And they have prana. Yeah? And when we actually get to the time to where we are eating what is right for us, and it's not in this pagan religious bullshit of being vegan, but we follow suit in relationship to what God says is an offering. And when we eat that offering, we eat it wisely and do it wisely and live with the animals correctly, we will continue moving forward through a process where we won't have the hospitals. Our cars don't have wrecks. Our planes don't crash. We don't run people over because we are not driving the car. Because we are not mentally ill anymore. And we are slowly but surely being healed through the process of all these things, new technologies and infrastructures that are brought to us. But as we, as humanity, we change our lifestyle, we are the ones that make the 99% change. We can do all the infrastructure we want, but if we don't change our lifestyle, the industries will still continue, and the corruption will still continue, and you will still be misused forever. Yeah? You have to change your lifestyle. To do that, you have to open your heart. And like all masters say, that in order to become a master, in order to become enlightened, you have to learn that you are a healer. And you have to learn that you have to heal yourself before you heal someone else. And that's not easy, yeah? But if a teacher is here to teach, and I'm a healer, and I teach that you have to do it yourself. You have to do this yourself. So I give all these hints and all these directions and all these things, and it moves people slowly but surely on a collective consciousness level, away from the solar plex and into the heart. So when you start looking at YouTube and going, what is corn, what is this, how does this work, how can I possibly live on this diet, eating all this fat, that is insane. You can't live by eating fat. You can only have so much protein in your diet because that's what the idiots say. And you're an idiot follower, and not mine, If you were to follow me, you'd find you don't have to be that smart. Yeah? You just have to make the right decision, and then you don't have to make a whole bunch of other decisions because you didn't make a wrong decision. Every time you make wrong decisions, you got to make 100 times more other decisions to figure out what it is you did wrong. Yeah. But if I can lead you through this and get you to the point to where you're actually eating this in a consistent, natural way, yeah. And then you start doing soul therapy, and you start doing meditation, and you start doing other things that are emphasizing the growth of your body, like working out with weights and working out, and emphasizing health, changing health, yeah? And as you do that, you're actually changing the quality of your glands and your organs. And as you evolve, you become a spiritual being. You evolve into a spiritual being, which means your glands and organs start having glandular secretions that manifest in a spiritual way, prana. And they move prana between your chakras and around your chakras, and they purify glamours everywhere on earth. Everywhere. It allows you discernment, discrimination, and it eliminates your ignorance. Yeah? Yeah. So it's important to follow this sort of thing. Yeah. But to do it, you've got to you got to go through the process of judging yourself over the fact that you have so many desires. And if you follow this, you'll find that eating carnivorous and eating a lot of fat and eating the right amount of protein that you need, along with exercise, yoga, breathing, all those things, use your body wisely. Yeah? That slowly but surely you heal your glands to heal your other glands, which are your lymph glands. Yeah? And your lymph glands, your regular glands, the glands in your head, the glands that surround all your major organs, they support the building of your body. That's how you built your body. It wasn't your mother who built your body. It wasn't your father who built your body. You built your body. You alone built your body. So you've got to do that now. You have to go through the process of regenerating your body and stop listening to idiots. You know, no one knows shit. Really. They're going to give you a lot of good spills, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, we researched this, and a lot of people's blood, came out like this, and and that just makes you go, whoa, what do you think of that? Maybe we should try something different. Trust me, let it all go. Don't go there. Do not go there. Relax. You're going to get every negative thing pop through your head going, oh, my bad bowel problems are due to my lack of this and that. No, it's not. It's due to your reality of not being on this carnivore diet long enough. Yeah? And if you stay on long enough, your body readapts to being a human being. And that gives you the organs and glands and the lymph glands to move your minor chakras and your major chakras to provide prana, and then you start regenerating. And you can live a long time in a very youthful state. Your mind will stay clear. Your body will stay strong, And it won't just happen in this life. You'll reincarnate, and you'll instill these lifestyle measures into your life when you step into your next body. And you'll have a magnetic attractive heart that will bring your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle, who are attracted to you from good karma, collective lifestyle likeness, that will support your life, rather than a pervert who wants you to become gay, and a grandfather who wants to have a little sex with you, and all the terrible things that go on in the world. If you don't follow this path, there is no possible way for you to cut those things out and bring yourself to the life that you are incarnated for. Because this is a design. It is God's destiny to fulfill your life. That's the tree of life. God exists to give you life. And it's life, not things you do that cause your death. You're on suicide. That's all that goes on. Everybody is in process of committing suicide. Just by inertia, by a lack of right eating habits, by a lack of right thought. All these things are causing our slow but sure lack of vitality and our death. Yeah. And it's this process that's going to bring us from life after life into a place to where we're going to live longer and longer and longer. And we're going to be at such a place of happiness and joy and peace that we're radiating out into the cosmos, protecting any other process of the evolution of any life force, any extraterrestrial, any form. We will support that process to grow in right nature. Because we come from nature now. We come from Earth. Yeah, we are instilled by what it is God gives us. And that radiates out. So as a healer, we become a magnetic healer, a pranic healer, a radiatory healer. And we're meant to be in charge of this Earth by radiating light and living light. Light means you got little, you want little. Yeah, that's what it is to be a nun. You got none, you want none. Yeah, makes sense? Isn't that a ha-ha? Yeah. It's not giving up anything. It's the future of all humanity. In 100 years, we'll have monasteries, we'll have schools that are based on these principles of light and understanding and ways of looking at our past and getting rid of the negative, non-sponsoring things of negativity. We'll take people off the street. We'll put them in places that kind of look like prisons, but they're not. They're reform centers. And they help people go through a process of taking alternative drugs that takes them off drugs, take them off alcohol, and keep them on there for a few years, and give them education and give them counseling, have them meet the people that they're going to know for the rest of their life in their process. You are out there working in a social system to support them as they step out. Yeah, and they'll know these people inside these centers, and they'll work simultaneously in the same process. And this is going to happen in Seattle, in Portland, in all places. And we're going to get rid of prisons. We're going to change the process of people going in and using drugs. They're finding by doing this, 70 to 80% of people who are on the street using drugs and stealing and doing crime, that when they get to these places and go through their reform and come out and they're off the drugs and they're constantly on this methadone or whatever it is that they're being helped with, and their counseling is consistent and they're meeting with people that is consistent and changing their lifestyle is what's important. And in that, those people have 70 to 80% of never going back to drugs or going back to their process of stealing. Yeah. So that's how we'll change, rather than needing more prisons and needing more room on the street and needing more delusionary empathy and delusionary compassion, when it's not compassion and not empathy at all. We're just not taking responsibility for other people when they can't take responsibility for themselves. You can't leave them to their own demise, thinking that that's their karma, like the Dalai Lama does. You can't. We have to take responsibility for all things, all animals, all plants, all waterways, all children, all adults, all old people, all young people, all things. We must be responsible. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yep. All right. So let's do a little prayer. I want to just show you one thing real quick before we do that. Part of the process of making sure that we clear this and through justice is that right now we have Donald Trump and who was Mussolini, whether you know it or not, and had many other lives before that, and now he has this life, and the people surrounding them are all the main players, actors in previous life. They're all the same people. Some were more ardently crazy and evil than others, and they made changes in this life while dealing with him and dealing with the opportunity of there being a better world, a better way of living life. Yeah. So whether it be Barr or many of them, they were all obsessed and possessed. But when it came down to the end, they were disengaged. Even Pence became disengaged. Yeah. So that's justice. That's part of justice. It helps to cleanse the process of the reincarnation cycle of groups that come with evil intent. And it's always held in intent by the individual who they're going to support. And they don't know that this individual is so selfish and destructive because that's not their personal nature. Yeah, they're just following evil. And they're not that evil. They're ignorant. They're stupid, and they like if you study the relationship of blind faith, that's the wrong way to go. Yeah, that's how you enter a cult. That's how you take the Kool-Aid. That's how you do that kind of shit. And in this world, you don't do that through blind faith. You question it. You check it out. You want to be self-realized and self-actualized, yeah, and self-enlightened. Yeah. And to do that, you have to be self-healing. Yeah. And you have to be able to judge the situation at hand. So here we have Trump, and a lot of things I'm forcing to come out in the open. You see him go crazy, say crazy things, treat the pandemic in an insane way, and it turns out terrible. You see the coming of all these people, and they violently attack the Capitol, and he denies the whole thing. You see all these things come up, and they're all centered around this guy. Yeah, but you don't get to see all the things that were really there that were worse. Yeah, things that were worse. Yeah, imagine this one. Donald Trump and his members of his inner circle wanted to invoke Insurrection Act in response to the summer protest of the murder of George Floyd. He wanted to create an Insurrection Act. That meant that he can get troops, military, and others on the street, any street. And he told everybody that. I want to be able to bring troops to any street. He put him in Portland, put him in Seattle, put him in Michigan, put him in all these different places. And then he reported he wanted the United States military to beat the fuck out of the protesters and even shoot them. This is what he said. Yeah. And then, when told that such violence was illegal and inappropriate, Trump suggested that the military could shoot the protesters in the legs instead. He doesn't give up. I mean, he doesn't give up. This isn't other people. This is him. He has a general walking down the street with him. General walked down the street, but after that, he quit. Yeah. And, he can only go so far because we are not evil. Even if you're following the evilest person in the world, it's that person who's evil. You're not. You're just a follower. And when you finally wake up and realize you're following and you are bad and you can't agree with this anymore, the whole thing changes. Everything crumbles like a deck of cards. And that's the power of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So then General Mark Miley, the guy who walked away when he asked them to do these terrible things, stopped Trump from ordering U.S. troops to act out his violent, psychopathic fantasies. In other words, nothing about the coup attempt was spontaneous or random. This is the coup attempt that happened on January 6th. So everything he did, everything he said, shoot these people, do these things, shoot them in the legs, shoot the kids, shoot the women. I'll show you later that he also said that. Shoot the children, shoot the women. He also said, in the coronavirus, take those people and put them in prison in Guantanamo Bay and hide them from the public. We're only going to get about 100 or so. Gather them all up and take them to Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, that was his idea of dealing with it. And they said, no, man, no, come on. Yeah, and then, that's a different one. And then when he found out people wanted to seek asylum, Trump at one point asked in a private meeting with close aides, could he shoot the migrants below the waist to slow them down? Can we do that? And that meant children, mothers, and fathers. No choosing, choose the people who are like, men, or don't choose a lady with the baby in her hands. Just shoot. And then he also floated a similar idea, suggesting that those who are throwing rocks, and they be considered to having firearms. And that gives us a legal right to use lethal force. And they went, no, I don't think that's a good idea either. And then he also talked to aides about building an electrified border wall. Yeah, isn't that great? And as well as water-filled trench stocked with snakes and alligators. Yeah? And then he asked him, can you cost that out for me? Find out how much that's going to cost? Let's get started on that. I want that done by Friday. Moats, alligators, snakes. Marksmen shooting at kids and people. If you shoot far, far away while they're a mile away and you have marksmen, you'd scare them too much. They wouldn't want to come any closer. That's the way he was thinking. That's how he was doing it. Just a wonderful guy. And without you knowing this, and a lot of times you go through all this, you hear it in the news, but you don't hold it. You don't contain it. Yeah? You need to contain it because he is going to be tried for crimes against humanity. And by me teaching this, it goes out into humanity, into the people who are going to put him crimes against humanity, because their consciousness is being raised by these teachings. So things I say and do, you get to see later in the news, because I fortify people's hearts to do the right thing. And then he came up with schemes to pierce the flesh of the migrants at the southern border by maiming them or hitting them with gas. He wanted to maim them and hit them with gas and shoot them. And he asked for steel bollards so sharp that he wanted them to pierce the human flesh if they tried to climb the wall. What a guy. I mean, I've heard of that being done for birds. This was a man with no humanity whatsoever. Trump wanted to use border forces armed with bayonets to block people from crossing from Mexico. The details of Donald Trump's thought process and behaviors are coming out, and they are revealing the president, who is clearly not well, shooting women and children who are seeking asylum because they are fleeing violence as a level of depraved lunacy that this country has never seen before in a president. He's got to love this guy. Okay, that'll do it. All right, let's do our prayer. So this invocation, and I do invocations. That's all I do, yeah. And if I watch things, like on YouTube, or I study or do anything, I use my enlightenment to invoke a higher way of seeing it for its truth. If it's not truth, I don't watch it. I don't check it out. And so many things, are easily to discriminate. You could see it in how it's presented. You can listen to it for the first few minutes, and you can discriminate this whole thing very, very quickly. Yeah. So it's a real difficulty. It's a process for humanity to be able to reach this consciousness. Yeah. So by doing invocation, evocation, I'm invoking your future. Yeah, your future is created. It was created in the beginning. Yeah, it's a house. It is a life. It is all of our kingdoms. Plant kingdom, mineral kingdom. We have all of our kingdoms. All of them are in the house. It's a house of God. Yeah, this is so special. You can't go to another planet, find a tree and a bird and all the things that go on. You can't do it. You can go anywhere you want, and you'll find lava, you'll find shit, you'll find stuff. But you won't find anything like you find here. Because this place is blessed by God. God created a plan. That's what the Bible's about. The Bible is a fulfillment of a plan. New Testament, Old Testament. Fulfillment of a plan. God created this earth. And in that, he created a plan. And in that plan is the tree of life. And that is transmitted by God as a conscious, growing force. So if we look at anything, we'll see that it has sacred geomancy to it. It has a building in it, great sacred mathematical equations in everything, and it all connects together as the same. There's nothing that's not in that same matrix. Everything is in that, except for lies and illusions and lower mind. And then we can't see that matrix. We can't see the sacredness of anything. Yeah? So this consciousness and using the tools and all of it invokes us to become sensitive of an ability to relate to nature. And that God created nature and maintains it as his plan of life. Yeah? So it's instilled in will. It's instilled in harmony. It's instilled in the Holy Spirit. It's instilled in love. It's instilled in faith. And all those things are different chakras that you have in you. All those are God. God. It's the plan that holds, and it's so freaking simple. And it's you. Humanity is God's answer to maintaining and creating this earth. On the seventh day, Adam was created, the first human being. And that created and sealed the plan on earth. The co-creator of earth is Adam, or Christ, yeah, representing the plan, the fulfillment of the plan, life itself. All the trees, all the animals, everything is represented through the consciousness of Adam, through the human being. If it's in that state of consciousness, if it's fallen and lost all spirituality and driven into compromise through lower nature and corruption, then God's out of the picture. And all the benefits of what God has in the plan is out of the picture. And we usurp all of it in order to do the opposite of giving an offering to God, thanking God for all that we have. We take it all and we imperil it right in front of God. Yeah? Having different kinds of ways of feeling, oh, I love you more than I love you, I want this, I need that. All these things of the desire body is the opposite of us giving back love to God and thanking God and caring for God's creation. Because that's our job. But with ignorance and being an idiot, you're not doing a good job. So the Christ comes, or the Archangel Metatron, or Michael, comes to illuminate and fight off what it is that's causing you your ignorance. And it's spiritual. It is spiritual. It is the evil spirit. And a lot of people are completely imbued by that evil spirit. So it requires an invocation coming from the light that represents the light. So when I say I invoke the power, the love, the wisdom of my ashram, soul, and monad, this invokes no fall, yeah, no corruption, no impurity. You are a child of God. This is God's ashram, and you agree. You agree. You may not be fulfilled. You may not be in it 100%, but this invokes in you an evocation. It evokes, creating the evocation of God's plan to materialize in your world rather than your material desire body going up against God's fulfilling process of manifesting God's desire. Does that make sense? Because we're up against it. Either we let go, let God live a much simpler life, or we're always going to be going through this. So I invoke these processes, and the first thing I invoke is that you are guided into the right activity of the plan. Yeah. And that you are in an ashram. Yeah. And that now we're going to clarify and stimulate your mind. And now we're going to heal and transmute your feelings and emotions. And now we're going to energize and vitalize and heal your physical and etheric body. Yeah. And now this is going to be so that you have a normal flow of energy through your physical and etheric body. So that creates a humanity that radiates light now. An etheric body rather than an astral desire body that wants shoes, wants hamburgers, can't stand it without a candy bar. You got to kill it. You have to kill it. You cannot allow it to survive. Personality must go. But what you get out of it is a soul. And your soul makes manifest a new personification, a new personality, a new way of what you're going to want to eat. Yeah? And you're actually doing things that are not harming anybody or anything, and you become a saint without knowing it. Just because you're on the path and you're eating the right thing and you're benefiting from it and you're doing the invocations and you're working within the light and you're using the tools, as time goes on, you reincarnate within the body of the hierarchy as an initiate, where before there was no such thing in existence on this earth. You look back at pyramids and you go, oh, I wonder how that got there. Yeah? You look at all these statues and you go, oh, wow, those people were really pagan. You know, there was a lot of people like that back in Malaysia and India and Asia and everywhere. You know? Everywhere. You know? How come they were like that and we're nothing like that anymore? Yeah? That's because we have gone ignorant. Yeah? And it's a matter of us healing, you know, our process. And as we move into that, which we're going to do by the year 2050, because this invocation is creating an evocation, and that prepares the way for everybody to know Christ. And that's important. It's important. I don't give a shit about churches. I don't care about religion. I care about you. And I care about the fact that we reincarnate, and we always reincarnate. So we're always alive. And if you're here with me now, you're going to be here with me again later. Yeah? And nobody misses me. Everybody dies and reincarnates and is in the body while I'm in the body. You know, so nobody misses me. You may be ignorant and drawn to the wrong relationships, but as time goes on, we will evolve you into your awakening reality that you are an incarnated angel, not just a human being. You have powers and forces that beyond your wildest imagination of not just healing, but manifesting, redirecting elements into their new form, creating light into new materialized form. We have no idea what the shit I'm talking about when I talk like that. Yeah? But it's the truth. And we will come to that truth because we become enlightened. And our enlightenment goes into our tools, goes into our cars, it goes into our industry, it goes into what we're going to build. All of it gets a soul. Everything gets a soul. That's the plan. Everything gets judged for being not soulful, not right to all humanity. Yeah? We get to a place to where we don't put any more impurities into material things and sell it cheap, like China or Africa or other countries. Yeah? Just sell it cheap. And it brittly falls apart, whether it be steel or anything. Just falls apart. And you're buying it, and it says it's a standard of really high quality things, but it's not. And over time, we will stop manifesting those things because we have a heart. And the only reason those things are there, and all the reasons why the body of all the buildings are falling down, the cities were reconstructed in the wrong way, and all the waterways are wrong, and the dams are wrong, we have to change it all. We have to kill it. We have to let it go. That's personality. Even if you built it and you spent all your time putting it together, if it's wrong, let it go. Let it go. Tear it down. Put trees back, and let's go back on. Yeah? Keep it simple. And that's the way it's going to turn. And that's because as we get to, so there is a normal flow of energy in my physical and etheric body. And in that body, we are all things. We're the birds, we're the cats, we don't need pets when you are love. Yeah? You don't need pets. You don't need a lot of lovers. You don't need a lot of things like that. When you are love. Yeah? You are self-love. You are self-realized. You're self-actualized. You are good. Yeah? So through this day, because of all this, and every day, I ask this in the name of the Christ to serve the one. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. This is an invocation to allow you to see Christ. See beyond being, ignorant. See what it is the light. See what it is the teacher. See what it is a human being. And be that. Be the human being. Learn to become a teacher and learn to become a way-shower. And we'll do that through these invocations. You have to have all this healed, and you have to do it for one reason, God. Yeah? And it has to be within an ashram. You have to realize this earth is an ashram. And the whole solar system is its candles and its, beautiful array of sacred art and manifestation of ceremonial order that sits around us. And we look out and we go, wow, what a sun, what a moon, what a thing, what Jupiter, what Venus. That is our church. Those are our buildings. Those are the structures of light and forces that surround us on a daily basis. And then we have constellations that constantly move around us in our galaxy. And they're constantly sending an illuminating energy, and it constantly moves. And we have no reaction to that because we do not radiate or receive light. And once we do, we become cosmic in mind. And we see things cosmic as origin. And we become the way-showers to the stars, telepathically, just not by traveling in Star Wars or in Star Trek, but by sitting around and living a very humble life and just getting through our day-to-day reality for thousands of years at a time, being so wise and so loving and so simple. And all the birds are growing with ability to communicate, and we have the ability to hear and respond. And the joy that comes from being able to talk to animals, communicate with animals, and heal their suffering through our radiatory love. Not just people, but all things. That is the end of war. Rather than creating war, we create something else. What we're going to create is co-create what God created, which is life. No war. Life. Yeah? Cool. All right. So now you understand why we do this invocation. Okay, so just repeat after me. I invoke the power, the love, and the wisdom of my ashram, soul, and monad. To guide me into the right activity in the plan. To clarify and stimulate my mind. To transform and transmute my feelings and emotions. To energize and vitalize and heal my physical and etheric body. So there is a normal flow of energy in my physical and etheric body. Through this day and every day, I ask this in the name of the Christ to serve the one. All in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, so the puja that we're going to do is I invoke the alignment of the 7 rays of God. Yeah. And listen to it. It's the same as when you're repeating with me I do an invocation and you repeat back. Yeah, that's a science. It's a science of invocation, evocation. Yeah, and that's when you're repeating. You're saying it yourself. But if you listen to puja and you listen, yeah, and you listen to every word, and it as you're clear in your mind, you're clear in your emotions, you're clear in not being bored, not falling asleep, in your physical body, and you stay up enough to where you can actually hear every word as it goes, because it's literally like a poem of creation. Every puja, yeah, it starts, and all the way through it, it's building, and it's building, and it's increasing your intellect. It's increasing your telepathy, and it increases your intuition. Yeah, just by listening. That's not by doing something, not by saying something, but by listening. You are a perfect reflection. If you're listening, just listening, then what you're listening to will reflect inside of you as though you said it. Yeah, as long as you're listening, yeah, it becomes you. Yeah, and that's the power of puja, is that we are all one. You may think you're different in some way, shape, or form, but you're not. You're all exactly one. You all have exactly the same sacred geometric reality that comes from the original creation to the one that we are today. It's all exactly the same. There's no difference. We reincarnate, yeah? And because we live short lives, we think we're only part of those short lives. But instead, we are millions of years old on a vast field of consciousness, yeah? And if we do this listening to the pujas, you can actually hear God talking through the consciousness of evolution into all matter, changing everything from all the rays of the continents, changing all the harm that's going on in the world, changing all the glamours that go on in the world. It literally is invoking into the consciousness, using all the past powers of creation to continue that creation in this moment. So everything you're listening to in pujas was said in the beginning of creation. Does that make sense? Yeah? And you were there. So it's not new. That's why it makes it so much more sense. Yeah? But the beginning and the end have a very big distance between them. For me, there's no distance. I'm Alpha Omega. I am both the beginning and the end. Yeah? But for everybody else, because of the desire body and separation, you skip things. Yeah? And this allows you to track in onto Christ and to Christ consciousness and to move within the field of that forgiveness. Yeah? Because ignorance is what you're being forgiven of. Yeah? There's nothing wrong with you for being ignorant. The wrongness is remaining ignorant. Yeah? So when I come, I'm there to unveil God. And in unveiling God, I have to invoke God. And God's got something to say. And God did creation. So in all the pujas, it is a co-creative invocation, evocation of creation. Yeah? So if you listen really close, you're actually formulating the ability for you to bring this into your body and create a brand new body with it. And the same forces that created all the things we're in for the future to change, it's the same with you. You can change. And it's these forces that will change the whole world. It's also going to change you. The same in the vocation, because you are a planetary being. You're created out of the planet. All the sacred geometric patterns of this planet are located in you. So it's microcosm, macrocosm. That includes our solar system and the galaxies. They're all connected inside of you. Yeah. So when I do a puja, it connects you into the harmony of the spheres, yeah, the celestial spheres of creation. And they have no time of space or time. Yeah. So every invocation is a creation. It's battling it not being manifested, and it's pushing it toward its fulfillment of manifestation. It's like the solar principle. It is the law of love. Okay? All right, so now you did the invocation. Now you can just listen to the puja, close your eyes, and relax. Okay, when I start the Om, I'll say take a deep breath, and then about every 10 seconds, we'll do another Om. Seven rays to raise the senses of humanity, expressed as the soul. I invoke the sense of hearing in the seventh ray, hearing the word of God, the word of power. I invoke the sense of touch and the first ray as the finger of God. Sense of sight as the third ray, as the eye of God. I invoke the sense of taste as the sixth ray, as the desire of all the nations. I invoke the sense of smell as the fourth ray, the beauty of revelation. I invoke the sense of intellect as the fifth ray, as the knowledge of God. I invoke the sense of intuition as the second ray, the understanding of God. I call upon the synthesis of the seven rays to be expressed through your personality. As the first ray of ideas, the mental body, the purpose, your life. Second ray
of ideals, the astral body, and your quality. The third ray of idols, your physical body and your form. The fourth ray of the fourth kingdom of humanity in balance. The fifth ray, the third kingdom, the animals. The sixth ray, the second kingdom, vegetables. The seventh ray, the first kingdom, minerals. I call upon the relationships of all the kingdoms to penetrate the personality of humanity and express its collective soul. The seventh ray and the fourth ray as the mineral kingdom. The second ray, the fourth ray, and the sixth ray as the vegetable kingdom. The third ray and the sixth ray as the animal kingdom. The fourth ray and the fifth ray as the human kingdom. The fifth ray and the second ray as the egoic soul. The sixth ray and the third ray as planetary lives. The first ray and the seventh ray as solar lives. I call upon the seven rays of all the nations to penetrate the planet Earth, to bring forth the geomantic relationships of the soul, to integrate the egoic ray and the personality ray of each nation, and to express its true expression, to make manifest peace on earth as one living body of God. I call upon India to bring forth its fourth ray of personality and to integrate its first ray of soul to manifest the hidden light. I invoke China to bring forth its third ray personality to integrate its egoic soul into its first ray, to manifest as the indication of the way. I invoke Germany to bring forth its first ray of personality, to integrate its egoic soul of fourth ray, to preserve defiance and its third ray personality to integrate its fifth ray of egoic soul to release the light. I invoke Great Britain and its first ray personality and its second ray egoic soul to bring forth its service. I invoke Italy and its fourth ray personality to integrate its sixth ray soul to carve the two paths. I invoke the United States and its sixth ray personality to integrate its second ray soul to light the way. I invoke Russia and its sixth ray personality to integrate its seventh ray soul to link the two ways. I invoke Australia and its fifth ray personality to integrate its fourth ray soul and serve the lighted way. I invoke Spain and its seventh ray personality to integrate its sixth ray soul to disperse the clouds. I invoke Brazil and its second ray personality to integrate its fourth ray soul to hide the sea. I invoke the entity of this planet, the planetary logos, to incarnate the light and the beingness of this planet. I invoke the expression of the second ray force into both the personality and the egoic rays of the nation and the personality of the egoic ray of humanity to fuse itself and its light into its healing process. I invoke the esoteric law of solar energy to make manifest the cosmic force of light, love, and peace.
Okay, just relax. Okay, open your eyes. Take it easy. key? Well, there's a lot of healing that's going to happen on this planet. And it's already quite a bit has happened. But now we're in a 10-year phase. The 2020s to 2030 is a major process. Many people will suffer a lot because of certain things inside infrastructure is very bad, and it will start breaking up. And a lack of things had not been put in place. Certain things didn't get put in place, like canals and things like that, waterways, and floods and droughts and fires and all that will grow, and heat will expand the process of more danger. But as the years pass, as time moves on, and people change their attitude toward a superficial spiritual life, astrology and tarot and all those different things, and a quasi saving the planet by being vegetarian thought, as though that's another form of spiritual activism. And as all that kind of goes to the side, and people try to get healthier and orient themselves toward other people who are getting healthy, and who's actually getting the healthiest, who is getting crazy healthy, looking young, skin is perfect, hair is growing back, crazy healthy, eyesight is coming back, teeth are coming back, bone structure is getting stronger. What diets, which one of those are going to bring that about? And that's what we're going to be moving into, is people dramatically making differences in their lives, following through a keto or a carnivore diet, and slowly but surely getting to the place before the fall. And there'll be a recapitulation, and it's simplicity. One mother, one father, one God, one reality. And how you see yourself in that reality. You're not stuck to try and make somebody else out to be God, or somebody else out to be the representation of the mother or the representation of the father. Instead, you're seeing that in God, as characteristics that you should see in people who are of that life, living that life. So as time goes on, the majority of humanity will learn to become midwives. And as time goes on, the majority of humanity will be in a subtle life, to where they're living in small houses, and they have land, and they maintain that land for their animals and their caregivers, both for their mother, their father, their children, for others, and for their animals. And they're not pets, but they maintain everything. Everything maintains everything. The poop is great, the soil is growing, the trees love it. We have more oxygen in the air than we've ever had before. Industries are falling away because we're not buying Campbell's food, We're not buying, crafts, boxed cooking shit, and canned food and frozen food, and all those aisles in the stores go down. And they become local markets rather than these big Costco, where we think we have to have everything, 5 carts, 100,000, bottles of cola, get them cheap, bring them home, drink them up, eat it up, when in reality, this could all be done locally, and since now we're only eat meat, we know the family that we buy the meat from, we know the family that we get the fish from, we know where we're getting our milk, we're getting it from our own cow, we get all our eggs from our own chickens. We now adore going fishing. We love eating fish and catching fish and knowing the rivers are clean and supporting our local life, rather than being in a world to where we don't know what the shit anything comes from. You go into the store, you have no idea. You are ignorant. You're an idiot. I made this song when I was a kid, because I saw everybody was an idiot. And so I called myself, I am nothing but an idiot. I am an idiot. I am an idiot. Yeah, nothing but an idiot. Yeah, and I would sing this song. I am an idiot, nothing but an idiot. I am just an idiot, nothing but an idiot. I'm just a little idiot. Yeah, and I just go on and on, not thinking anything of it. But I knew that we were all idiots, and I was the only one willing to say it. You know, and out of that, you know, all my own enlightenment and everything got me past having to say I'm an idiot and singing songs like that. Yeah, but it is a process of humanity. You know, getting past our ignorance. You know, if I was to agree with smoking that first cigarette, if I was to agree with having a beer with my brother or with other person, if I was to agree, then I really was an idiot. But I learned that I actually had made a decision. In everything, I had to make a decision. I had to be fully 100% responsible. Why is it I don't want to smoke? Well, I have to think about that. And as I thought about it, I raised the consciousness of humanity. And I got generations of people to stop smoking, and commercials to change, and doctors to stop doing advertisements on Camel cigarettes. All within less than 10 to 15 years, because I chose to make a decision. And I did the same thing with eating. I chose that I would make a decision. And when I was young, I decided carnivore was the only way that you needed to eat. So I healed myself through the carnivore diet. And I lived on it for about 5 or 6 or 7 years till I was drafted. Yeah. And then I went through a process of having to deal with that. Yeah. But all the way through it, each decision was a process of leveling out this idiot process of not knowing and coming to a place of real knowing. And it simplified everything. It simplified the fact that I don't need all these things. I don't need to even try to do those things. I don't need, you know, so I never really went through the experience most people went through. I never went through the dating process. You know, I never went out on dates. I never, you know, all that desire body process everybody goes through that they have to do because they're so lonely and everything is so, you know, as it has to be. All those things I chose, those aren't things that I need to do. And everything came to me as I needed it. My friends, a girlfriend that I didn't have to seek out, you know, all these things. If you do right decisions, you live in a law of magnetic love. And it cleans up the people you're going to have coming to you, to the people that slowly but surely, they become more and more spiritual. Yeah, because you're cleaning your act. You're making choices. Yeah. So all of this that I'm doing in invocation, evocation, you all have to do the same thing. And if you choose this with diet, you choose this with your exercise, know that this is until the day you die. Yeah? You're not in a temporary lifestyle. You got to realize that what I'm leading you to, when we get to electric cars, we don't go back to diesel. It's gone. When I get you to cars driving themselves, you don't go back to a car that you can drive. It's gone. Yeah? And when we get to the place where we're all carnivore, we get to a place to where all the major industries that create ham and bacon are the wrong kind. All the things that are causing cancers in us because they don't care. And if we care, it will change everything. So healer, heal thyself. And you'll change and heal the world. All right? All right. Thank you very much. Enjoy.